What's up everyone, Ray Rambo Ray, coach of the Dallas Empire, coming to you today with a Warzone video. Today we're going to be going over some stuff for Warzone that I could maybe help you get better at performing under pressure and winning some of your gun battles that you might have a hard time winning lately in Warzone. So today we're going to be going over a few things. We're going to start with how to perfect your centering, which is probably one of the most vital elements in any shooter, and also more importantly in Call of Duty because of how quick the gunfights can be sometimes. I'm going to help you guys understand the scenario at hand and what are the variables of things you're looking for to really kind of make sure you're giving yourself the best chance to win a gunfight. And lastly, how to be in control of the fight. It's really important to kind of be the one that's initiating the combat, not really sit back. A lot of people kind of, when they're under pressure, they feel like me sitting back and waiting for my opponent to make a mistake is the best way to go about things. But when you play against good players, typically those players will take advantage of those situations. So I'm going to kind of teach you guys a little bit how to be aggressive and really kind of take advantage of what you got. So I haven't played quite as much lately, but we're going to jump into a game and hopefully show you guys some of the examples I was talking about. So the first thing we're going to be looking for is really the centering aspect. That's probably the most important thing in any FPS shooter you're ever going to play. Really understanding your areas of combat and preparing your aim in a situation that doesn't force you to make big adjustments on your aiming. So we saw someone land here nearby, so we got someone here. So again, the centering is really the important part here we're going to be doing while trying to engage this player. Really trying to keep my aimer close to the edge of the wall so that when I do get close to him, I'm prepared to shoot in the direction that the opponent's going to be in. I don't know where. Oh, he's right here to my left. I can hear him. We're going to be taking our time. And there's a free kill. Prepared the shot, prepared the aim. Easy kill. Good way to start the game. So now we don't know where our next opponents or threats are going to be. I'm assuming people landed deeper. I'm going to try and move forward, but again, trying to center my aim in locations that I feel my opponents are going to be in, so that if in case I do run into someone that I'm not prepared for, I'm ready to fire in the direction without having to make a big adjustment. Now, oh, well, that's tragic. This man was waiting for me on the roof. Oh wow, that was some good shots. So the gulag, obviously one of the elements of the game you need to be really great at to be successful. So we're going to talk about the centering here as well. Again, super important to be aiming at a direction you feel like your opponent's going to be in. I typically like playing it a little slower in the gulag. I like waiting my opponent out and feeling out kind of the skill because you have no it's kind of hard to understand. It's kind of a guess at the start. So again, centering around the corner, nobody there. We're gonna center around this corner. Oh, there he was. And the centering helped a little bit there. Again, it's just always kind of position your aim in a place where you're ready to shoot your gun in a direction you feel like your opponent's gonna be at. If you don't do that, then you have to make adjustments which cause variables that you're not able to control easily.
UAV entering the AO.
I don't know if he saw us or not, but we're gonna make a play on him. He saw us, but now we're dictating the fight. Definitely have the best position there. He had no chance in that gunfight. But yeah, the importance of having the first shot on your opponent is dictated by where your aimer is, or how close your aimer is to your opponent in the situation where you see him first. If we both see each other first and my aimer's pointing here and his is pointing there, or straight at me, then it's going to be hard for me to win that gunfight because I have to make this big adjustment regardless how high my sensitivity is or how good my aim is. My opponent should have the first shot on me. So that kind of small difference can really dictate how easily or how hard you're making on yourself to win a gunfight. Yeah. So tip number 2, we're going to be going over understanding the scenario at hand and how to kind of react off of it. This is a very it's not a very easy tip. This is something that's going to take time to understand, and a lot of it is kind of trial and error through gameplay. A lot of it kind of goes into play again. Like the more you play, the more you can understand different situations, and the more the situations kind of tend to repeat themselves after a little while. So at first, when you first start kind of gauging and really trying to understand what's going on around you, you won't necessarily understand and be able to use that knowledge right away. But in time, when you do kind of, again, see the same situations over and over, in which they never really repeat themselves to the T, like to the very kind of same extent, but they repeat themselves close enough to where you can accrue some learnings and really kind of put them into play and really get better at them. But it's a lot about trial and error. For me personally, when I start playing even a new game or even later in the stages of a game, the thing I try and do the most is really analyze what went right and what went wrong in the situation. And a lot of that kind of dictates from what equipment you have, your position on the map, your opponent's position, really kind of your understanding of what's going on around you. But we're gonna try and try and get into a gunfight here, a couple of scenarios that I can help you guys maybe see what I'm seeing and kind of give you my 2 cents on what's going on. So you guys can maybe allow yourself to really kind of understand what's going through my mind so that you can put it in practice on your own end. And that's not a good landing at all. But no, there's definitely a gunfight going on. It's not good. We didn't get a pistol fight, looks like. Oh, here we got a shotgun. Someone's close by, in the corner. Oh, he did a good job of dictating the fight. Oh my God, he got a gun later. So I was trying to focus on the gunfight. So the reason he backed off is because I had a shotgun, which he did a really good job at. I had a shotgun, I tried to keep the gunfight close. I didn't think he would run away, and I honestly did not see him pick up an SMG. I thought he had a pistol, so which is why I pulled my pistol out and used the head cover to have the best positional advantage in the gunfight. Again, back to tip number 1, centering, also important. Jumped around the corner, my opponent wasn't prepared. He was able to get shots on me, but you saw he had to kind of make this adjustment on the screen to try and kill me, and I was already prepared to shoot him right off the bat when I jumped around the corner. So another thing to note in the other gunfight, my opponent just got out of a weapon fight with someone else, but I thought he was kind of weak already, which is the reason why I chose to engage that fight so aggressively. He was, as you saw, he was trying to kind of play a little safer, trying to run away. For sure he wasn't full health. I just ended up not shooting very straight, which happens when you don't play the game quite as much as I have lately. So, but as I accrue more things in my loadout here, and one thing would be great is to get an actual loadout, which is, again, something you don't get to do that often in solos until the later stages of the game. But having our loadout would help us 100% understand what we are capable of, because it's a loadout we're used to using. Right now I have an LMG and an AK-47, which means typically I want to stay out of range of the closer engagement. Now we can change that with SMG. Now we're kind of prepared to engage any kind of fight. So if we do get into, what is this scope? That's interesting. Okay, let's change it to that. If we do get into an engagement now, we have to kind of be prepared to fight someone at any distance. We have C4, so we're able to kind of dictate the distance of a fight a little more. If an opponent kind of decides to hide, we have some tactical element to fight on our own kind of duty, so we can push them around and really force them out of their hiding spot if we can see them kind of hide. Like that last gunfight we had where the player was inside that little hut. If that was the case, if I had C4 in that case, I could have just threw C4 around the corner and then fight as I blew up the C4 to engage the fight. And that would have made my life a lot easier since I didn't really have to rely on my gun as much. I had equipment that I can use to make that weapon, or the gunfight. It would be more the engagement since we're not using our gun anymore, but really ensure myself a victory. So the last tip today we're going to be talking about is controlling the fight. And that's one thing that's super important. And again, it's more about being aggressive and forcing yourself to be in a situation where you're in control of your actions and not really waiting for your opponent to make a mistake. Really what we're trying to do is control the outcome of the engagement rather than let our opponent control it and just hope he makes a mistake. So we saw someone shoot, I believe they were in this hangar over here. We're going to try and keep our SMG out, see if we can get close to them. And we did, and we did control. So as you saw right there, this is kind of a good example actually for the tip. Really our opponent was trying to sound whore us and waiting it out. It was a very poor slide cancel, but I did slide cancel a little bit around the corner. My opponent wasn't prepared for me to be that close when I got there, and I was able to win the gunfight because my opponent wasn't as ready as I was to get into that engagement. I was expecting a gunfight. My opponent was kind of slowing down, kind of trying to gauge, is my opponent going to come in right at me right away, or is he going to play it slow? Because of my footsteps, he probably heard me coming, so he just didn't react properly. But again, because I was kind of had one idea in mind, oh God, that sucks. So as you saw, I knew one of my opponents was in the area. Even though I was sound whored and my opponent kind of knew I was coming, I was able to kind of dictate the fight because of my aggressiveness. I was not really waiting for my opponent to come out. He didn't really know I was there, to be fair. I was beyond the footstep sounds. But again, I was able to kind of play aggressive and be the dictator of how we're going to go about engaging. He kind of heard me, so he tried to make a play, but still, I was kind of the first initiator of the gunfight. I was expecting fully having an opponent in my face, so he was to a certain extent, but not as much as I was, which really kind of dictated the outcome of the fight. And I was prepared with my SMG out, controlled the scenario as much as I could, had the right weapon. Even though I was kind of in the open at first, I was fully planning on getting as close to my opponent as possible, as you guys saw. The bad thing that could have happened there is my opponent played more passively and kind of ran backwards. And maybe had an assault rifle and whatnot, but still at that point I was fully expecting him to be there, so it would have been easier for me to kind of dictate and kind of get in and out of the fight using the geometry of that area, because I knew I was fully expecting an opponent there. And right after that I died because I wasn't expecting an opponent to be there, so I was kind of stuck in the open. I mean, basically when I got caught, was it the chicken with your head cut off? I really had no kind of plan because I wasn't really expecting anything to happen. So expecting what's going to possibly come ahead of you is going to be a big help into playing better Warzone. So yeah, we went over a few things today. We started with centering and the importance of it. Really perfecting your centering is going to help you win a lot more gunfights and have the jump on your opponents. It's always important, especially in Warzone, because there's a lot of kind of uncertainties of where your opponents can be located at when you run around the map. Always being prepared for any possible outcome or kind of position that's going to happen. The centering will help you get really kind of a jump on the gunfights that you possibly not have otherwise. We also went over the importance of understanding the variables and scenario around you. It's always important to understand what weaponry you have, what kind of tacticals, what your loadout really consists of, because that'll dictate really your ability to win certain gunfights in certain ways that you may not have kind of thought out. It's not always just about shooting your gun. Really getting the main position, the best position possible to enter a gunfight is going to be one of the main aspects of understanding variables that'll give you the jump on certain fights that you possibly wouldn't win otherwise. And also it helps you understand if you can actually take a gunfight or not. Sometimes the best play is not to engage and to run away a little bit and hold a different position and make your opponent do certain things that he typically wouldn't do otherwise. And lastly, we went over the importance of dictating the gunfight, really being the initiator and understanding that putting pressure on your opponent and actually making the actions that are going to control the gunfight is really the best way to go about winning gunfights more often than not. I mean, that's one of the most important things I would say in winning gunfights consistently, is really kind of not necessarily being always the aggressor, but always being active and understanding. And it's an intangible that really goes along with understanding the scenario, because if you understand the scenario and you know what's good, like you're kind of able to predict the outcome of the fight, being the one that initiate that outcome is really what's going to prompt you to win those gunfights more often than not. So I hope these 3 tips were helpful for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Predator Training Room. If you guys like and want to watch more, like, subscribe, comment. All those things are great for us, and I hope you guys enjoyed the content, and we'll see you next time.